Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to MMA Labology, brought to you by Bets TV. Qwan, what's going on, my brother? How are you today?
I'm well, man.
You didn't seem too well when I came in today.
What do you mean?
That's bullshit. I wasn't well either.
Listen, man. Hey, it's Spider-Man Day. That's the only thing I'm looking forward to.
That comes out this weekend.
Yeah.
It's
always
today?
Early preview on Thursday.
I don't know. I don't know how to do things here.
Listen.
I'm going to see it this weekend, actually.
I'm going to in 2 hours.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah.
You got to let me know how it is. I'm going this weekend. I think I'm going Sunday. I think I'm going on Sunday with Bush and the kids. Bush obviously isn't here with us again today. He's in New Jersey. He's still sick, dude. He's still sick. He got hit with this big stomach bug, so he's still down for the count. That's why he's not even joining us remotely today.
Get well, Bush.
Yeah, get well, bro. I'll see you. He's coming back in on Saturday, but even in the office back in Jersey, there's a couple people that are hit with COVID over there, so he's not even like really intertwining so much in the office. So, guys, it's getting bad again. Whether your belief system is that you think it's real or not, the numbers are going up. Be careful. Wear your mask. I'm not one to judge if anybody's vaccinated or not vaccinated, but definitely be mindful of what you do, where you go, and how you conduct yourself, because it obviously is spreading. New York, back home, where I was talking to my mother today, it's spreading like wildfire, bro. It's up to like 13%. So it's going around again. So whether you're a conspiracy theorist or you're not a conspiracy theorist, or it's a political thing for you, the fact is, whether it's a deadly thing or not, remains to be seen. Whether the vaccine works or not, it remains to be seen. Just do the right thing. Be mindful. Be careful. The holidays are here. A lot of people are going to be traveling. So just be very, very careful. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm actually going to crack this. I've been dying to drink this all day, dude. So this is a diet Dr. Pepper cream soda.
That's a lot.
I swear, bro.
No, I'm saying, like, that's a lot. Just diet Dr.
It's a lot to digest,
soda.
right? So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a little
taste test.
Snickeroni here.
Cream soda is never bad.
It's actually really good, but this one's a little warm because I didn't put it in the refrigerator at work, so it's a little bit warm. It doesn't really taste like Dr. Pepper. It tastes like cream soda.
You know what my favorite quote is? Trump said, "You never see skinny people drinking Diet Coke."
They drink regular soda.
Yeah, you never see anybody skinny.
Dude, I can't tell you the last time I had a regular soda in forever, dude.
Yeah.
Like literally, even if I go to like a drive-through, I'll be like, all right, well, yeah, let me get 2 cheeseburgers, fries, and a Diet Coke. Like, what the fuck is the reasoning behind that? So
psychosomatic.
Yeah, I haven't been able to, I've been trying to crack this all day, but I haven't had a crazy day, dude. I mean, I had my father's in surgery right now. So, Dad, I hope, you're doing well. You'll probably hear this when you get out of surgery. Then I have my uncle have an issue with his heart or something today. So, I'm sitting here on the, waiting for the phone calls to make sure everybody's good and everyone's copacetic. Got a card coming up, obviously, as we all know. We're going to get into that. We're going to break down the whole main card. Obviously, not a card like it was last week with, Nunes and all the shit that transpired with that. If you're not an MMA fan or you were just tuning in, I'm sure you're an MMA fan now. I mean, it is just written in stone, that quotation, the theater of the unknown. And that's why we all love this sport, the people who do watch it. We also got Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley, which me and Qwan are going to get into. I got a lot to talk about that. I actually did a spot in Tampa, Florida with my guy Mike Straka, who has a show over there today. We broke that down a little bit. Not really much to break down on that fight, just some little nuances and variables that you could throw in and stuff like that. And then obviously Derek Lewis and Chris Daukaus, which is, to me, it's a really intriguing fight. So we're going to break that down. And we got some other fights, too, on this card that we're going to rip into. And I will give you my leans on them. Probably bets are going to be a little off as far as maybe a bet on the show or a bet not on the show, just for the mere fact that this is a card I need to see weigh-ins. This is a card I got to really watch the weigh-ins. There's a couple lines that aren't sitting right with me that I do see value a little bit on this card, but I really do want to see the weigh-ins. So if you do want to get my full breakdowns, you want to get the full DFS, go to the madlabmma.com. Use promo code BETSTV, and you can get everything we do over there, from our wagers to our breakdowns to our DFS section to full fighter metrics, private podcast, private live stream. You name it, we do it over there. We only don't undercover that. We cover boxing. We give some free NFL, which we absolutely crushed this week. Thank God, because we had a bad couple weeks in football. But yeah, so that's let's jump into some news and notes first. Anything you got to throw on the table? Any new COVID things with NFL?
Any new COVID things?
Well, as far as the last couple hours.
The last 10 minutes, I saw Case Keenum is out for the Browns.
I saw that.
So now it's, who is it? Nick Mullins is starting.
Bro, Nick Mullins ain't bad. He's a former Niner, dude.
Yeah, that's what, I think I saw the tweet. The Raiders better hope Nick Mullins doesn't start at a 151.9 passer rating. And they beat him 34-3.
He's not bad, bro. Nick Mullins is not a bad QB. What else? What happened? Elijah Moore. He's coming. Is he coming off COVID? Elijah Moore, or did he just get put onto it? I know.
I can't even.
I think he's.
It's too much to keep track of.
Too much, bro.
Like it's at the point where, are they actually going? I know they're not going to cancel it, but it seems like a really good idea.
Yeah, but see, we were talking about that. Who was I talking about that on the phone with last night? I was talking to my buddy Ben, and he was saying, like, what do they do in that situation where, no, my friend Tony, the kid that we put up on the screen, what do you do in that situation? And I'm like, well, you can't, bro, because what happens, like, when these teams are fighting to get in for a wild card or something like that, and their team is completely going down. Now, before the playoffs, when these people get knocked out, these teams get knocked out, now you're going to say, well, Tom Brady's got COVID, so we can't have the playoffs.
That would be like a killer.
That would be a total killer.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, you can't just do that. You can't do when these teams are vying for spots right now, and they're dealing with COVID, and they're dealing with all these, like, the Bears and all these people that are dealing with what they're dealing with, and then they don't make it. But now a team, the playoffs are locked, and COVID hits them, and now they say we can't do the playoffs. We have to. I don't see a way they can do that.
And it's not going to get under control next week because we got the holidays. It's not going to be under control after that because New Year's and other things. And that just means, like, playoff time.
Bro, it came like this.
Yeah.
It's literally like overnight. Look at the NBA. Look at the Nets.
NBA.
Bro, everybody but Kyrie Irving.
He's looking like a genius right now.
Dude, everybody but Kyrie Irving has COVID on the Nets, basically, and he's the only one who doesn't.
Yeah.
Right, think about that.
It's bad. Like Russell Westbrook, it's obvious that LeBron had it because Russell Westbrook and like 4 more LA Lakers are out. The Bulls had to cancel 2 games. It's just at the point where, it's like you shoot yourself in the foot if you postpone the season, if you pause the season, but you also shoot yourself in the foot if everybody can't go to their job. So we're back at square one.
I don't know, man. It's crazy because when you really think about it too, it's like you talk about the teams that have it are getting riddled with it in football and stuff like that. Look at the guys on the other side of the ball. You gotta remember, these guys are breathing heavy, they're sweating, even though they got helmets on, bro. They're just breathing.
Do you ever seen the graphics where they're like demonstrating the airborne?
Oh, yeah. The little particles like dripping around.
Think about that and think about how nasty offensive and D linemen are.
Yeah, bro. That's what I mean. It's like, you got to fumble, you got a complete pile up, people breathing, spitting. Like, come on, it's game on at that point. So, yeah. I don't know, man. All I know is I got three best ball lineups. 4 or 3? 3 best ball lineups that are through. And by some stroke of luck, dude, my guys are healthy.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of guys on injured reserve on the bench, obviously, because of COVID and because of injuries like Derrick Henry and stuff like that. But I got a pretty stacked team, in 3 different best balls. So they went through all my fantasy lineups. All my fantasy teams are through to the playoffs. I got a couple guys going tonight, Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's about it. I mean, I think we covered everything with the news.
What do you got tonight?
That's what I want to talk to you about. Who do you have tonight? Because I got a couple plays that are gonna tickle your nuts a little bit.
I got the over early this week.
Mm-hmm.
I got it at 51. I'm hoping that these two teams just don't come out and learn how to play defense all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Because the Chargers have been so inconsistent all year. The Chiefs defense, they're looking good the last few weeks, but you can't just like maybe they figured out what they were doing wrong earlier in the season, but they still got the same pieces. So I'm hoping that Justin Herbert comes out and
firing. They're home. They're home tonight.
And outplays. I'm hoping he outduels Mahomes, which is hard to say. But after that throw against the Giants last week, like, man, the kids, like,
oh, he's good, dude.
Yeah, the Dolphins are like all those teams that slept on him last season. I feel like I'm really upset that the Lions didn't take him last year to replace Stafford.
He's legit. Bro, the two teams that are my two fantasy teams, one, Justin Herbert, two, Tom Brady. Those two are my quarterbacks.
There you go.
You know? What do you think? You think now, as far as who do you think wins?
Chiefs are road favorites, right? -3?
-3, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's basically, if you think about it, it's kind of 6.
Yeah.
Because the team at home usually gets the 3 right off the bat. But listen to this.
You want to say it, don't you?
What?
The Chargers win.
I'm taking the Chargers.
Yeah.
And I'm taking, well, partially is because I have interest with my fantasy league, so I'm rooting for them. I get, Keenan Allen and stuff like that. But listen to these two wagers, bro, that these are worth a crack.
Uh-huh.
Okay? Now, it's a player parlay. So you guys can take this or throw it away. You guys can also back it up if you want to. If you don't think they're going to win, obviously you're going to be playing a little bit more juice. But Austin Eckler, anytime touchdown and win is +260. That's so hold on, I'm not done.
I'm listening.
And then Keenan Allen, anytime touchdown and the win is +400.
I think one of our callers put in something like that.
I mean, that is, there's value there, dude. They're playing at home. They're playing at home. I'm still not sold on like I said, KC is very up and down, bro.
Yeah.
Like, they have Tyreek Hill. We know he's always going to perform to some aspect. I mean, Kelsey hasn't really done anything. Like, they're not the team that they once were. They're really not. They're not the team that they once were.
So you're thinking the last few games is just them being streaky in the competition?
I think they're a very streaky team, and I think it's this is like a game like where I could totally see like him getting outplayed here, and I maybe Chargers defense showing up a little bit in this game. At home, big game. I don't know, man. Like I said, you want to back it up with a play, and you do like Austin Eckler anytime TD -150. So then he just has to, he can cover that if they don't win. But those two plays, dude, as soon as I saw them, I even called up Bush. I was like, dude, I like these plays just to throw something small in. Austin Eckler +260 anytime TD and the win, and Keenan Allen +400 anytime touchdown and the win. I mean, they're
excited, yeah.
There's a little. I mean, even if you throw half a unit on it, you know what I mean. Even you could back it up if you wanted to back it up. You could back it up with like Keenan Allen over 75 yards, and Austin Eckler anytime TD, and then you're doing a half unit. So you're looking to lose only 1 unit, and you got 2 bets to back it up. I don't know. Those 2 bets right there, I just thought they were. I thought they were a little tasty. They jumped right out at me when I saw them, so I took a small shot at them. If they don't hit, they don't hit. But I also have fantasy implications behind it as well. But I'm going to pick the Chargers. I'm going to take the Chargers. I'm not going to bet them, but I think they got a good shot to win tonight. I do.
I think, yeah. If they can keep up, if they just don't.
It's also predicated on Eckler's health.
Yeah, Eckler. Like it's tough because. He tweeted that he was playing.
But you see the way they taped his ankle in the last game?
No.
It looked like he had a fucking cast on, dude. They used like 4 rolls of tape. I think the announcers even counted. They're like, a second roll. So it's really, I think it's predicated on him. How active is he going to be? And, get that run game going and get your pass game going.
And how much will the Chiefs fall for him as if he is just a distraction or if he's just somebody out there actually producing?
What do you mean? How much they're going to fall? With stacking the box?
When you scheme up your team or you scheme up your defense, you want to say, okay, this guy's going to be one of the major contributors.
Well, he always is every week.
Yeah, but at a certain point, it has to be somewhat of a serious injury. Like you said, they rolled his ankle up.
Yeah.
So are they scheming for him to be. I would rather.
Oh, you
have
mean you're saying play out and let him beat you?
Yeah, I would rather have Eckler beat me than.
Yeah, but even at that point, they don't have the defense to cover that whole field.
Yeah,
they don't. I mean, you have Mike Williams who can have a big game. You have Guyton who could burn you deep. You have Keenan Allen who
coming off of COVID though.
Yeah, but you don't know if you
gotta hope he got cardio in him.
7 to 12 receptions sometimes with this guy, and then now you got Jared Cook.
Yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, he might not get a reception the whole game. And then he gets that.
You sound like you would take them on a bigger O line or something.
Huh?
It sounds like you want a blowout.
Not a blowout, dude. But I could see. I'm going to say they win by. I'll say they win by more than 6 tonight.
Okay.
All right, that'll be my. All right, that'll be my thing. I'll say they win by more than 6. What do you think? Call. Who wins and by how many?
I'll go to Chargers. I think it's gonna be.
If the Chargers win, I think it's a push. 3 points.
No, I think there has to be. It'll be either 10 or they push.
All right, that's fair. All right, so I say Chargers by 6. You say them by 10 or push.
Yeah.
All right, that's fair. All right, so now we got that out of the way. Damn, dude. I wish it was like a couple hours later. Right? I get home, live. Make my dinner, and
Yeah.
So then now we got this weekend. We got Saturday. We got the fight with Tyron Woodley and Jake Paul. I watched the pre-fight interviews and stuff like that, and I gotta say I watch these things closely, guys. This is what I do all day long. I mean, all day long, Bush will tell you, I'm in the office. I got 4 big TVs. This is why I can't see, and they're not on the wall. I got one here. I got
right in your face.
Did you ever see?
I don't think I've been in.
You were at the office.
I came to the desk, but I had a bunch of Trulies.
I got a 42-inch here, a 42-inch here, a 42-inch here. Then I got like a 50-inch behind me. It's like the movie Slither.
Yeah.
But and they're literally right up in my face. I'll actually take a picture of it next week, and I'll bring it in on Tuesday or the next show that we do, and I'll show it to you guys. But so I'm literally watching this all day long. This is all I do. This is my job. So I was absorbing everything that we're saying, and I was trying to figure out who Woodley was fighting, because he kept saying he's been getting ready for a fight. He's been preparing for a fight. I'm preparing for a fight. I'm preparing for a fight. So. You're trying to figure it out. Like, okay, well, if Tyron Woodley's preparing for a fight, I don't care what kind of fight it is. Like, you're going to know about it. Like, you're going to know if Tyron Woodley's getting ready for a boxing match. Like, you're just going to know about it. Even in an MMA match in another organization, you guys are going to know about it. At the end of the day, bad or good, you're going to know if Woodley's fighting. There's a lot of guys on Twitter that this is all they do. There's one gentleman on Twitter, I forget his name. His name starts with an M. I do want to give him credit, actually. So if you guys just
bear with us for a moment.
Yeah, I do want to give him credit because he really is on top of his game. His name is Marcel, @BigMarcel24. He really does. Like, the kid all day long, what he does is, like, if there's a fight that drops off, he retweets it. If a fight happens, he tweets it out. He doesn't really talk much about it. He just kind of updates you and lets you know. Like, even someone like Marcel, if he knew that he was boxing or he probably would have tweeted it out. So, like, I didn't see nothing with anybody. So it made me think, like, all right, who is he fighting? Like, who is he getting prepared to fight? So then in the press conference, they asked him, and Jake Paul said, well, he was getting ready for a fight, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, who? Like, who? Then when I asked Tyron Woodley, he goes, well, when they called me, I said, I didn't even let him finish the sentence. I said it right away. And they go, well, what were you training for? He's like, well, I told my management team and I told my trainers that, like, something tells me that he's going to drop out of this fight. So I want to stay prepared. So he wasn't getting prepared for a fight. He was saying that he was getting prepared for this fight, pretty much, to stay prepared.
Yeah.
But that means he wasn't. You think this guy was putting a full training camp thinking that Tommy Fury was going to drop out? No. I don't buy that for 1 second. For 1 second, I don't buy that this guy was in a full-bore training camp, training every day, training hard, dieting down. He is a freak of nature genetically. This guy's body is always in shape. He's always in shape. He's always training. Don't get me wrong. It's not he's not training. But he wasn't in this full dialed-in camp getting ready for this fight. I'm sorry, but he wasn't. He was probably keeping his weight down a little bit in case something does happen, in case another organization, presents an opportunity to him, a late replacement. He is, at the end of the day, he is a professional that way, and he does stay within the target range of his weight. But I by no means believe that this guy was training for 8 weeks, nonstop, training hard, thinking that Tommy Fury was going to drop out of this fight. I don't buy that for 1 second. However, he's prepared. He's ready. He got the call. Good on him. He's right on target with weight. The fight's taking place. And here's a couple things that I want to throw on the table about this fight. There's really not much to break down about it, right? I mean, if you really look at this fight from top to bottom, there's not much to break down about it. On one side, you got Jake Paul, who obviously, I don't care what any of you guys say. You guys can call him a YouTuber. You guys can call him this. You guys call him that. The fact of the matter is this kid does put the time in. Do I think he's a good boxer? No, I do not. Do I think that this guy do I think I could take this guy to New York and take him to Gleason's gym or, in Patterson somewhere, like the old Silk City gym in Patterson or something, and just get a Golden Gloves boxer to box him for, 6 rounds, and the kid would work the hell out of him? Absolutely do. I think anybody in that pedigree of like Golden Gloves and up will be able to work Jake Paul. But he does put the time in. He does put the time in. He does put the training in. And the kid can box. I've watched his film. Like, he's not a terrible, terrible boxer. He's not. You portray that image, of, when that dude came in from the WWE and, he came in to fight Mickey Gall. And you predicate things on that. Like, I'm not saying that guy's not an athlete, and I'm not saying that Jake Paul is an athlete, but what I'm saying is he puts the time in. Visuals are completely different. The dynamics of that are completely different. Like, for example, I can take a bodybuilder out of the gym, and these guys that all they do is take selfies, and they're showing you how they're squatting and bench pressing. These guys wouldn't last 10 seconds. 10 seconds with Jake Paul or his brother. Not 10 seconds. All right, and I'm talking about guys that are 260, 270. You bring them in a boxing ring with Jake Paul at his weight now, and Jake Paul will work the shit out of these meatheads from any gym that you could pick out. Because they're not athletes. Like, to me, bodybuilders are not athletes. They're just not. So to say he's not an athlete and he's not a good boxer is a very false statement. I don't like what he's doing. I don't think it's good for boxing. I think it kind of cheapens boxing. It waters down boxing because you're getting the kids from YouTube and you're getting all these other people coming over and they're saying, well, look what he's doing to these guys. Now, it would have been a travesty for boxing if he fought Tommy Fury. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the people who know nothing about boxing will think, wow, he's fighting Tyson Fury's brother.
Yeah.
Right? He's fighting Tyson Fury.
Right there.
That's it. Well, he's genius.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, what they don't know is he's not a professional boxer. He has fought one professional fight under Jake Paul's banner, okay? He is nothing like his brother Tyson Fury. He's not a good boxer, and I consider him an amateur at best. So, but he sees Tyson Fury. He sees the Fury name, that he's a good-looking guy. He's well-built. This guy will make people believe that I can box. I just beat the heavyweight champ's brother. So it's perfect. But if he would have lost that fight, the core boxing fans, the people who know the sport say, big deal. You beat another chump. Like, at the end of the day, Tommy Fury's a chump. He's a chump. But now he's fighting Tyron Woodley again. So what does that mean for Tyron Woodley? For people who think that this is a money grab and stuff like that, yeah, but you got to understand, there's more at stake here. He has a lot to lose here. They both have a lot to lose. And I truly believe that Jake Paul really isn't wanting this fight that much. I really believe that. I believe that this kind of put a wrench in his plan. He's a very calculated kid. His management team is very calculated, and he claims that he can make $250 million in boxing. And I wholeheartedly believe that if he patterns his opponents the right way.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly believe he can make $250 million in boxing if he patterns his opponents the right way, kind of cherry picks his way through, jumps on the right lily pads, keeps winning. So this wasn't in the plan, okay? So he does have something to lose here, because if he does lose this fight, then there you go. He got exposed in the rematch and this and that. But where's Woodley lose here? Woodley's got, people say, okay, well, he's getting a money grab. Yeah, okay, he's making a lot of money from this fight. But if you guys really put everything on the table, he's getting an extra $500,000 if he gets the knockout. He's getting an extra $500,000. That's $500,000 just to knock him out. I mean, not just, like, you got to do it. You have $1 million to knock him out. But forget about that. Say he didn't get to $500,000 to knock him out. He's looking at, if he wins this fight, a trilogy fight, which is going to even be more money for him.
Yeah.
So if he goes in there and he knocks him out, he gets his purse money, he gets his $500,000, and then he gets a shot for the trilogy fight, he's set. He never has to fight again. He's set. That's it. He could go off into the sunset. Who cares what anyone said about me? I had a trilogy match with a YouTuber. Who cares? I made, X amount of money. I'm done. I'm retired. Goodbye. He loses this fight. He better run for the hills. He better run for the hills because his peers and everybody gave him enough garbage of the first fight that if he comes in and now gets a second chance at this and he loses again, he better run for the hills. And there'll be no rematch. There'll be $500,000 taken out of his mouth. And whether he got that tattoo on his finger or not, mentally, we all know that he's Jake Paul's bitch. At the end of the day, that's what it is.
I have no argument. That would suck to ruin your entire legacy in another arena.
Forget about legacy. Think about what I just told you about the money. All the money that's in stake if he wins this fight, either a knockout or not a knockout. You're looking at another big payday.
Yeah.
Who do you got? Let me hear your thoughts.
Man. It's based off everything that you said about Woodley. It's hard for me to pick him, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna.
You know what his odds are?
What?
Like plus 240, plus
240.
Yeah, I mean it's not bad.
Yeah, he disappointed in the first fight because So this is where we learned if the no knockout clause was accurate because, like I said on Tuesday, he had him.
Yeah, but was it? Because in the press conference today, they asked him about that. He didn't even mention about that.
That's what I'm saying.
They must have said to him, "Don't you even mention that."
If it was in the contract in the first fight, we will see it because you got a $500,000 on the line, and you had your opportunity to knock him out in the first fight, and you didn't pull the trigger. So I'm gonna go with Woodley.
Bro,
I knock out $500,000. Listen.
I mean,
you put $500,000 in front of me,
bro.
I go through Goliath.
Dude, I'll walk into any gym. You offer me $500,000 and I will just, bro, I'll start taking 25-pound plates and smacking people across their fucking mouths with it. $500,000.
$500,000.
Think about that. So he's getting his payday, and if he knocks him out, he gets $500,000. And then after that, there's a clause in the contract for a trilogy. Like, this guy will be set. Because God knows what he's getting paid for this fight. I don't know. Like, God knows. Apparently, it was the biggest payday he's ever gotten. So he has the opportunity to get a payday from this, another $500,000, another payday. Jake Paul probably throwing another clause, like, I'll give you another $500,000 if you knock me out. It'll be
my own pocket. Yeah, something crazy to promote it.
Go ahead.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'll give you another.
Yeah,
he'll probably
dude.
stay and walk into the ring.
And then the pay-per-view numbers will probably be big for the third fight because you're really going to be intrigued, like, who's going to walk away.
What if he just beats him on the cards?
I don't think that's enough.
No.
I think he's got to knock him out. But you know what? At the end of the day, listen, I can't say that because you really don't know what this kid's chin's like. Like, you don't know. Like, at the end of the day, I know guys who can't fight for anything, but they have a chin. Like they've been into some street fights and stuff like that. And I've seen some guys get hit with chin. I'm like, dude, this like some of these big Polish guys that I know back home. Like, you can hit them with a fucking crowbar and they're not going down. But it doesn't mean they can fight. So it's really predicated on his chin. It's predicated on the conditioning. And like I said, I don't think he was hurt when Woodley hit him. I think he got stung. It was the first time he really got hit live time, like in front of people, live time. I think he got stung, but it's nothing that would have concerned me if I was his corner. Would be like, oh, dude, we got to recover your legs, or I'm like shaking his legs out or anything like that, shaking his arms out. Like, it didn't really concern me that much. You know what I mean? So I don't know. And to see Woodley back off like that, I really don't know. I think I'm of the mindset, like, if Woodley really wants to right this ship, he's got to knock him out. He's got to knock him out.
Has to. And it has to be early.
Or you got to outclass him.
I think it has to be an early knockout. Like, I'm talking round 2.
Or outclass him.
No.
What if he outclasses him?
No.
What,
like you said, it's not
like
enough.
Completely wins every round? You wouldn't give it to him then? I would. If he outclasses him, you have to.
But after the first
Because look at Lomachenko last week against Comey. I mean, he literally outclassed.
That's different though.
But he didn't knock him out.
Yeah, but that's different though. We're talking like actual boxers. This is like, I can't even put a metaphor together. It has to be a beatdown. Like, you got embarrassed. You are a professional MMA fighter. You were the GOAT at one point. You have to embarrass this kid. Like, it's the YouTuber thing.
Back up with the GOAT talk.
At one point. I mean, at one, like, he was up there.
Yeah, he was up there as a welterweight, yeah.
So you have to knock off that stigma of, like, YouTubers get the worst rep ever. Like, they're just the most untalented people in the world. And you can't be bested. I know it's an adjacent step, but you got to beat the dog shit out of Logan or Jake, whichever Paul this is. You have to beat the dog shit out of him.
I listen, I agree. I agree that he's got to. This can't be a close fight. It can't be like a split decision. He gets on the microphone. He's like, I told you. He's got to beat him. He's got to put a clinic on him to right the ship. But if he puts a clinic on him in a decision, like a full-blown boxing clinic, I'll accept that. But it's got to be a clinic. It can't be like, you know, a split decision or we're sitting at the edge of our seats. We're like, who do you think won this fight? What a close fight. Like, it can't be like that. It can't. It's got to be when that final bell goes off, if it is a decision, we got to be literally sitting there saying, dude, that's Woodley's fight. That's not even a question. Like, if they take this from him, it's a robbery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a robbery. But I'm with you. I'm on the mindset of you. Like, you put $500,000 on the table. If that's not enough motivation for you to go in and knock this kid out, you ain't gonna. You just don't belong. You shouldn't be in there. You gotta leave. You gotta ride off to the sunset.
Here's the last question: do they announce the date for Tyson Paul afterwards?
I still don't think that's gonna happen. You know why it's not gonna happen?
Because Mike Tyson got better things to do.
It's not only that. It's that when Mike Tyson fought Evander Holyfield, was it Evander he fought?
Roy Jones.
Roy Jones. When he fought Roy Jones. It was a debacle, dude.
Yeah. He beat the shit out of Roy. I was so embarrassed.
They had headgear on.
Yeah. He was hurting, too, after that post-fight interview.
You know what I mean? It was like they had headgear on. So if Roy Jones, even though he's older, at his age and stuff, you know, but he still can move. He still looks sharp in there a little bit. He's putting headgear. You don't think they're going to put headgear on Logan Paul? That fight's going to be with gear on. That's not going to be a legit boxing match with no headgear. That's going to be headgear, heavier gloves, no knockdown rule, like they did with the no winner. Yeah. I don't see them. I don't see them having like a full blown boxing match because at the end of the day, listen, Mike Tyson's 50-something years old. Logan Paul is a lot younger. He's pretty athletic. He's got some pop. But if Mike Tyson like puts him in a corner and just starts tossing off some of his early years signature combinations, he can hurt him.
Yeah,
he can hurt him because he knows where he's directing his punches in the liver and in the kidneys. Like he can hurt him. So I'd be shocked if it's actually a fight like where it's no headgear, normal gloves, X amount of rounds. They're allowed to knock each other out. I would be shocked, but we'll see what happens. I personally don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I haven't heard that much chatter about it. Have you?
No.
Nah, like you would think they'd be talking that up a lot. I haven't really heard much about it.
Now there's no time like the.
Who do you take in that fight?
Tyson. Listen, man. That would.
Why do you think he's Mike Tyson of old? All these people. Tyson. Why? Because he throws a couple shadow boxing.
You hate Tyson.
I don't hate him.
You do hate Tyson.
I respect him. Listen. You know what I respect about Tyson? I don't think he was a good boxer, but I want to get this out to everybody so you don't think I hate the guy. I don't think he was a good champion. I don't think he was a good boxer. I think he was he was good for his time for the time that he was in there. There was really nobody at the time. What I respect about Mike Tyson is the way he climbed out of the depths of hell to be where he is today. That's where I respect about him because this is a guy who had all these allegations against him. He went to prison. He clinically lost his mind for a little while. He lost everything he owned. He's not uber educated. Like he's really not an uber educated guy. did he have the name to work off of? Yeah, but he was so clinically insane at one point that what company, what person was going to really invest in a loose cannon like that? Like, they would bring him on shows, he'd be cursing at people. Like, you got to play that very strategically. You just can't be like, oh my God, Mike Tyson, let's go, because they could have did that with Riddick Bowe. They could have did that with Holyfield. They could have did that with numerous amount of athletes that they didn't do it with, but they did it with him because he was Mike Tyson. And he adjusted, man, and he made the lifestyle adjustments, and he's taking the proper medication. And anyone think he's not on medication, you're nuts. He's on major medication. He took the proper medication, and, he's now, I wouldn't say a different person, you know what I mean? But I'm saying he adjusted to life. And when most people can't get life started in general, this is a guy who went to prison. This is a guy who lost everything. This is a guy who was on the top and went all the way to the bottom. When you're at the bottom your whole life, it's really not that hard to go up because you're at the bottom. But when you're at the top of the pinnacle of life and money and fortune and fame, and you got to go back to the bottom, do you know how hard it is to suck in your ego and your pride, and how hard it is to work your way back to any sort of point at all? So that's what I respect about him. As a man, he did that. He did something 2 times where a lot of people in this country can't do it once. So I don't hate him. I just don't think he's a good boxer.
This is against Jake Paul we're talking.
I didn't say he was going to win.
No, that's what I'm saying. You took a stand, though. Like, we're talking Jake Paul. Tyson would, like you said.
No, Logan Paul.
Or which, it could be Paul Bunyan.
Well, listen, it all depends on the rules and regulations. Yeah. If they can't knock each other down.
They was pummeling Roy Jones.
Yeah, but if they can't knock each other down and it's a strict point match, you're talking about a kid who's in his 20s. Who could just move around and stick him and run around and stick him and run around and stick him.
He was pummeling Roy. He had
Roy Jones is older than Elvis Presley.
I know, but I don't think Logan Paul would know what to do in that situation.
Listen, I'm of your mindset. I don't think Logan Paul's good. He doesn't train like his brother. Like, even in the training interview, he's like, dude, you're taking this so serious. Like, enjoy life. He's like, no, man, I'm serious. Like, Jake Paul is serious about fighting. Yeah. That's why I respect him. Logan Paul, not so much. He's got other things going on. They're both millionaires. So anyway, that's that. So let's jump into these. So I'm gonna take a small lean on Woodley.
Okay.
Small. I'm not gonna bet it. Small. I'll just say I'm leaning his way a little bit. All right. So fight night. Let's get into this now. So we got Derek Lewis and Chris Daukaus. There's really not much to break down on this fight, and let me pull this up, and I'm gonna tell you why. I tell you guys all the time that, when you're dealing with heavyweights, you got to really mind your P's and Q's to a certain extent. But when you're going into numbers and you're going into the metrics and you're going to this, just throw them away. Like, you got to throw them away. You can't really look into that stuff, so much when it comes to heavyweight, especially when it comes to someone like Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis is a guy where he takes every number that you dial, every metric, every height, weight, reach, range, and discipline, and he will X you out with one shot. Period. One shot, it's over with. It's happened a million times during the Alexander Volkov fight. What did I say? Everybody picked Volkov. He's going to tee you off on him. And if no one believes me, I will paste my article in here on the next show. I did the whole breakdown on that fight. I said Volkov is going to beat him from pillar to post, and I said, but it only takes one from Derek Lewis. That's it, one. And I picked Derek Lewis, and everybody thought I was nuts. And he was like a 68 or 6,900 in that fight on DraftKings. And sure enough, he got beat from pillar to post, and he caught him with that one shot at the very, very end of the fight, and he got knocked out, and he ended up winning the fight. So you can't go into numbers and metrics, and even in my article, when you read the article, it's not this big, extensive thing like I usually do for the main event, because it's a waste. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to break down Chris Daukaus'. Yeah, you're going to sit there and you break down Chris Daukaus' style and what he does. He's a black belt Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and he moves this way and he moves that way. That's all fine and good. We know Derek Lewis is not a crazy athlete. He's a good athlete for his size, but this isn't a guy where you got to worry about creating angles and all these crazy entries and stuff like. No, like, that's not Derek Lewis. We know what Derek Lewis brings to the table. This is a guy who just literally waits for you to give him a window to jump through. And he doesn't need you to open up the window all the way. He could literally, you open up a little bit and he'll smash his way through the rest of the way. A couple of his faults that you need to look at when you're fighting him. He's very tender to the midsection. This is a guy where you can sting him in the midsection probably a little bit easier than you could sting him in the face, to be honest with you. If you could deliver a couple good kicks, good liver kicks, good midsection kicks, some teep kicks up the middle, a couple punches that'll really dig into his midsection, you could probably hurt him easier in the body than you could if you go up to the head. So it's notoriously known, historically known, with Derek Lewis on that forward. However, the one thing you got to be careful with is when you do that, he has a very good ability to play possum with you. Okay, and that's what he does. He will play a game of possum with you, and he'll back up against the cage, he'll hold his stomach, or he'll look like he's gassed out. And then when you kind of move forward, if you don't do it in a strategic manner, all of a sudden he starts unloading on you, and that's where he clips you and puts you down. He's done it numerous times. But when I look at this fight in the whole, it's like you can't always just rely on that. You can't always rely on it just takes one. It just takes one. The reason why I picked him over Volkov in that fight when they did fight back then was just for the mere fact was that height differential really was a factor for me for him to find that one. He was coming underneath. So it's not like he had to come down or he had a guy. He was actually the one that was able to come underneath and find that shot. So you're at that point, you're coming under their defenses. And if you look at the knockout, it's exactly what he did. He actually came underneath. So there is something to be said about that if you could find the spot. Chris Daukaus is from Philly. He's a tough kid. Like I said, black belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He moves well. He's going to be the sharper, faster fighter. Now as time goes on, the blueprint of Derek Lewis. Like you just kind of know the blueprint on him, and you just got to ignite it. You got to engage that blueprint. You got to put that blueprint into motion. If Chris Daukaus does that, he wins this fight. He's the better athlete. He's got more upside. He can take this to the ground if he wants to. If he can get him tired enough to do it. Submitting him is kind of tough because he's a big guy. He's got big traps, big shoulders, but that's a call for him. He can also knock him out if he strategically places his punches in the right spot. So Daukaus is my pick in this fight. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's that one shot that Derek Lewis can hit him with. We've seen Chris Daukaus hurt before. There's nobody, I don't care what kind of chin you have, when he hits you, he hits you. And that's the end of your night. So we've seen it time and time again with him. Then he does that like tombstone digger and stuff like that. So I'm going to go Daukaus here, in this fight. And I'm going to probably take him, by knocking out. If you look at DraftKings real quick, we'll go through this real quick. Derek Lewis, 8,300. Chris Daukaus, 7,900. Derek Lewis obviously is predicated on his knockout at 8,300. If you look at that, that he needs the knockout. He's not going to go 3 rounds and score 83 points, on points. He's not a volume guy. Chris Daukaus, on the other hand, if he gets a decision, if it is a decision, he's going to cover either way because he's going to have to spit out some volume. He's going to have to do some work in there. And if obviously he gets it finished, then he's going to cover as well. The spread, plus 120, Derek Lewis, minus 140, Chris Daukaus. There's obviously, to me, there's value both sides on that. I think I think it's lined a little too close. I think Chris Daukaus can maybe be like a minus 150, minus 160. I haven't decided whether or not I'm going to take a bet on Daukaus yet. I want to see the weigh-ins, the stare-downs, and I also want to see if that line moves a little bit in Derek's favor just because of recency bias and stuff like that. So, official pick, Chris Daukaus. Next fight, what do we got?
We got Lemos Hill.
Okay. This fight right here is the line on this is insane to me. I don't know where they get minus 310 and minus 3,500. What is it called? 9,500 for Lemos and minus 310. I understand why she's the favorite. I understand her talents. What she's good at. This is a girl who, she's on a pretty decent win streak. But the people that she beaten, like they're not that good. Like Ohio, Souza, Mizuki, Granger, like she's not beating the greatest of competition. But she's a southpaw. She's rangy. She's got power. So I get it. But at the end of the day, she's really not a volume striker. She's not one who's going to sit there and throw a ton of volume at you. If you look at her here, she had the TKO in the second round, 68 significant strikes. In a decision, she threw 83. So if you look at her last 5 fights, the most strikes she's thrown in a fight is 83 significant strikes. Now, mind you, the rest of them came in the first round, so we don't know. So that's a very small sample size of what she does. Okay, but if you're talking to someone like Angela Hill, who's throwing 96, 77, 131, 90, 70, 92, 71, 117, 121, 114, 107, 47, 89. You're talking about somebody who's spitting a lot more volume out. She's got a lot more, she's a lot longer in the tooth. She's got more skin in the game. And people forget at one time when, even though I don't like going back, but when Angela Hill first came into the UFC and she had the late minute replacement to fight Jessica Andrade, like, that was a sample size of how good she can be. The problem with her, she's Jekyll and Hyde. She comes in sometimes and she looks fantastic, and sometimes she looks terrible. But if you're giving me Angela Hill at the price she is on DraftKings, and you're telling me that, like, Lemos is pretty much going to be predicated on the knockout, because that's what it is. I find it hard to believe that, Lemos in the decision is just going to run roughshod on her for 3 rounds, and Angela Hill's not going to get anything off. She's not going to give her any friction, any back and forth. You're pretty much saying that $9,500 in a decision, she's going to really work a very talented, a very seasoned, in shape, fast, sharp, throws better combinations, a little bit more dialed in striking than Amanda Lemos. I don't see that happening. I see Amanda Lemos possibly finishing the fight. I think there is upside where she can kind of bait her in a little bit. She does have power. She does tie, the small amounts of combinations that she puts together very well. But if you're telling me you're giving me Angela Hill, who's a little bit more nimble, a little bit smaller, she kind of moves laterally really well. She got that herky-jerky style to her. If she comes in dialed in, this is a fight that she can win. So can you pull that up for 1 second? So at $9,500, I'm looking at, I'm not a big advocate of her at $9,500. But I at $7,100, I do see value on Angela Hill here. The line, I wouldn't touch either side. Like I'm talking DraftKings here where I'm seeing value. The line I wouldn't touch on the other side, because if you put a bet on Lemos, it's foolish, I think, at minus 310. If you guys wanted to tie into parlays and stuff like that, I still kind of think it's foolish. I mean, let her finish her, let her do what she's got to do. But minus 310 is just too much wood for me to lay on someone like Amanda Lemos right now in this stage of her career. If you look at Angela Hill at plus 245, the only problem I have with that is that you're playing with Jekyll and Hyde. You're rolling a dice to see who am I going to get. Am I going to get the Angela Hill that I know she can be, or am I going to get the Angela Hill that just comes out and looks horrendous? So you're kind of playing with your money at that point. So it's a fight that I'm probably going to sit back and watch from a gambling standpoint. But from a DraftKings standpoint, there's value there on Hill. I mean, there is. Even in the decision, there's value there. So, I think there's more value on her than there is Lemos. So I'm going to take a flyer on Angela Hill. I'm going to take a flyer on the dog here. I'm going to say she gets it done by decision.
Up next.
Oh, this fight. Okay. So, this is a fight where you really got to think about, this is where you got to erase. When I tell you guys, don't go back, don't go too far back. This is a fight you got to do that with. When you look at someone like Rafael Assunção, this is a guy who back in the day, he was just that guy that you knew if you were signing the contract to fight him, he was going to find a way to slow the fight down or speed the fight up to his pace. It's just what he does. It's what he does. He's done his whole career, and he's been very successful in doing so. It's almost like I'm going to come out and hit you with a right hand, but you got to stop it, like Derek Lewis. That Assunção is going to try, and he's going to dictate the pace. And if you're too fast for him, he's going to slow you down. If you're too slow for him, he's going to speed you up until you graduate with him and decide, okay, I'm going to fight his fight. And it would tend to work out for him, in those spots. But as he got older, he started to have a little bit fall from grace. I mean, he was on a run for a while. This is a guy, Aljamain Sterling, he beat him. He beat Marlon Moraes. He beat Matthew Lopez. He beat Rob Font. He was on a streak for a while. Then when he had the rematch with Marlon Moraes, he got caught in the guillotine. He fought Corey Sandhagen. He lost out by unanimous decision. And then his last fight, which was really concerning to me, he lost to Cody Garbrandt by knockout. So this guy's on a 3-fight losing streak right now. His last fight was June of 2020. So now you have a layoff here. You got a guy who's kind of pushing, the later half of his 30s, and you got to wonder, where is he right now in his career? Like, where is he? You don't get any faster. You don't get any, all of a sudden, you just don't have this rebirth in athleticism. He was never this crazy athlete. He was always a very good, respectable, well-rounded fighter. That's what he was. but you can beat him if you push a pace on him, especially now at this point in his career. He's fighting a guy, Ricky Simone, and that's all this guy does. This guy just pushes a pace on you and pushes a pace on you and pushes a pace on you. And does he run into his own traps? Sometimes yes, because when you're a fighter like that, when you're pushing such a hellish, reckless pace, that's what happens. You just run into things, and but this guy's on a 3-fight winning streak right now. He hasn't fought anyone really great of note. A couple guys he has. He beaten Ray Borg, good win. He lost to Rob Font, lost to Uriah Faber. The fight against Merab was very, very iffy to me. I thought Merab won that fight. They obviously stopped, that fight at the tail end. He beat Montel Jackson, but Montel Jackson wasn't himself back then. He beat Hani Yahya, big win. So he's doing this all on pressure. That's what he's doing it on. So he's not going to sit back. He's not the type of fighter to sit back and let Sun Tzu dictate that pace and say, I'm going to let you slow me down. If you're going to slow me down, you're going to slow me down by nullifying, neutralizing me, and repeat. He's not going to sit there and take 2-3 shots and stop. This is a guy who has takedowns, 6 takedowns, 7 takedowns, 7 takedowns, 6 takedowns, 4 takedowns, 7 takedowns, 2 takedowns, all the way back to his debut when he had 14 takedowns. This guy's committed to his wrestling. So he's going to be on, a Sun Tzu like fly on shit. And it's going to be on Sun Tzu's job to really, really, really be able to shuck him off, get some offense off on him, shuck him off, get some offense off on him. And he's going to, by doing that, can't end up on his back. So he basically has to clip him. He's not a consummate finisher. This is a guy who just does not really finish fights. Unanimous decision. He got an arm triangle 2 fights ago, split decision, unanimous decision. Both of these guys don't really finish fights. They do it on strategic pace and calculation. So to me, it's just a bad matchup for Sun Tzu. I just think it's a bad matchup for him. It could be kind of like a farewell fight for him to kind of just let him go into the win, make him think he's getting a shot against this kid. But I got Ricky Simone here at $9,200. I honestly think there's value there. I think people are going to lean on a Sun Tzu a little bit when they look at his old dog record and say how many guys he's beaten. He's beaten all these names, and he's so good, and you got to be careful there. And I think Ricky Simone's a fine play. And I don't think the line is correct. I think it could be closer, like maybe minus 200. Minus 275 is a little bit juiced. But I don't know how interested I'm going to be on a Sun Tzu, to be honest with you. I just don't think that he's going to have to catch Ricky Simone, and that's really not his game. He's going to have to catch him in something. Simone's going to have to do something to really put himself in a bad position. I don't see a Sun Tzu putting him in a bad position, if that makes sense. So at 9,200, I can't really argue with that. I think it's a lot better than Amanda Lemos at 9,500. And the Sun Tzu, I'm not saying fade him, but don't get too overexcited with name value there. So official pick, Ricky Simone. I'll go Ricky Simone by decision.
Got Thompson Muhammad.
This fight's interesting, but this fight here, I think this is a bad matchup for Bilal Muhammad. I like Bilal Muhammad a lot. I think he's a very good fighter. He's got good wrestling. This is another guy who kind of commits to what he's good at. He's got good durability. He's got good cardio. He's got good pace. He's got good wrestling when he has to use it. But here's the problem. When you look at Bilal Muhammad, how does he notoriously win his fights? He notoriously wins his fight by decision. Let's just go through some of them real quick. You got decision, submission, decision, TKO, decision. This guy runs the gamut with decisions. So how is he winning his fight? He's winning his fights on points, correct? Okay. So now he's standing across the cage from a guy in Wonderboy Thompson who has been born and bred in the karate background. Now, when you're born in the karate background, that whole culture of karate, that's a point system. That's what karate is. Karate is cultivated to be a point system. It's not basically let me knock you out or let me do this. They fight tournament style points. So everything is point. This guy is a point master. And unless you're going to take him down and control him on the ground or knock him out, which is extremely rare to do and hard to do, he's going to outpoint you all day. I don't care how old he is. I don't care if he's pushing 36, whatever his age is right now. You're not going to get into a point situation with Wonder Boy unless you can figure out a way to get him to the ground and control him there. If you look at Gilbert Burns, he took him down 3 times. Jeff Neal, He threw 171 significant strikes against Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal threw 85. He won the decision. Against Vicente Luque, 138 significant strikes to Vicente Luque, 77. He lost to Anthony Pettis. He was beating Anthony Pettis in that fight from pillar to post, and Anthony Pettis ended up catching him and knocking him out. He lost to Darren Till. That fight was very sluggish, but I do believe that he should have won that fight, and a lot of other people believe that he should have won that fight. He bought Jorge Masvidal, another guy. He threw 70 significant strikes to Masvidal's 45. So my point here is that, like, these guys that are trying to fight him are trying to point fight him, and he's embarrassing them with volume. He's embarrassing them with volume. So unless he comes in with the game plan that I'm going to take this guy down and I'm going to wrestle him and I'm going to commit to my wrestling and this is the way it's going to get done, I just don't see him beating him. I don't see him beating him. I don't see him beating him unless he could really dictate the pace of his wrestling. And he's not, look, his last two fights, no takedowns. Against Diego Lima, he had one. Lyman Good, he had two, but Lyman Good really isn't that hard to take down. Takashi Soto, same thing. You know, Curtis Millender, very easy to take down. Jeff Neal, no takedown. So, you know, he's got the takedowns, he's got the wrestling, but he's going to find the way back to his feet. And when he finds a way back to his feet, are you going to be able to keep up with him? And the answer for me is no. The answer for me is no. So, I think this is a great spot for Stephen Thompson. Like I said, with the volume, I think, Bilal is there to be hit. If it does stay on the feet, I think he'll be fine even with a decision. But 9,100, you're always flirting with death when you're dealing with a guy who, at the end of the day is probably going to win a decision because Bilal is super tough, super durable. And it's probably, so he's going to either have to spit a lot of volume out and cover that 9,100, or, it's going to be one of those fights where he's just kind of picking and choosing his spots and he doesn't cover it all. I don't really mind the -2. I'm not crazy about it. I think it could be a little tighter. I think there's a slight disrespect on Bilal's name with that. I think it can be more in the -100s, but I'm not overly surprised by it. So my official pick is going to be Stephen Thompson by decision in this fight. Yeah.
Last fight.
Last one. This one is actually a great fight. A lot of people are not really looking at this fight. Cub Swanson versus Darren Elkins. So, when you look at this fight and you say, my God, well, look at that price, 8,800, 7,400. That's not fair. It's not fair to a point. It's not fair to a point. But what you guys got to understand is at the end of the day, you can't make a career, even though he has to some extent, but he hasn't been like an elitist where he's been a champion and stuff like that. You're going to lose fights, and you can't predicate your career on always coming back and just coming back through the depths of hell and always coming back and always coming back. Like, you can't just keep assuming that this guy is going to come back and he's going to get beat up and he's going to come back and he's going to get beat up. He's done it lately. He does it in spots, but there's also spots where this guy gets completely murked. And I'm talking about Darren Elkins. This is a guy who literally wins his fight on sheer will. He's got good durability. He's got good cardio. He's got very, good chain wrestling. And what does he want to do? He wants to take that damage and he wants to hope that he survives. He wants to drag you into that deep water, almost like, Clay Guida does in a sense, just in a little bit more of a violent manner, and see if you can swim. And a lot of guys weren't able to swim, whether they blow their wads with their conditioning, and he's there for the, they're there for the taking, or, he just puts such a grind on you after you think that you can get him out of there. Because everybody thinks they can get him out of there because his striking is not good. It's very pedestrian. He's very hittable. He cuts very easy because of the scar tissue. So all that in the cage looks like, man, I'm putting a clinic on this guy. I'm going to knock him out. And then when you realize you can't knock him out and you can't submit him, and he starts to charge back and chain wrestle on you, then you're like, shit, what do I do now? And that's kind of how he wins his fights. He did it with Derek Minner. Derek Minner was grappling the hell out of him. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden he ends up coming back and he knocks out Derek Minner in the second round. But then if you look at the guys who beat him, like he lost to Nate Landwehr, decision. The guy had the cardio to last. He lost to Ryan Hall, decision. Why? Because Ryan Hall was going to grapple with him, and that's his suit. He wasn't going to sit there and just tangle up with Ryan Hall. He lost to Ricardo Lamos, the same thing. Ricardo Lamos, good hands, good grappler. He lost to Alexander Volkanovski. Little bit of different animal, but the same thing. Good cardio. The guy's going to push a pace on you. Then he beat guys like Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson's going to put hands on you really hard, really quick, but he can be taken down very easy. Dennis Bermudez, the guy was over the hill. Mirsad Bektik, we all saw what happened with that fight. So these are the guys. He got Godfredo Pepe, great for first round and a half, and then he dies out. So these are the guys that he beats. Cub Swanson is a guy that he can beat, yes, but Cub Swanson's very calculated, very well-rounded. He's got very sharp, fast striking. He's a black belt Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He's got good conditioning. You know, I just don't see – I think it's a bad matchup for Darren Elkins. I think it's a good, fun matchup. It's one we're going to really enjoy. I think that Darren Elkins can put him into some issues, but I think this is a good spot for Cub Swanson. I actually agree with both of the DraftKings and the actual line. I think I do. You know, minus 190, I don't hate it. And 8,800, I don't hate it either, because at the end of the day, Cub Swanson's going to have to put work in to beat Darren Elkins. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, he's got the speed, he's got the volume, he's got the precision, he's got the power, he's got the grappling chops, even though he's been submitted, you know, numerous times with his black belt. I think he's just well-versed enough on the ground to stay safe, get back to his feet, keep it standing. He's been there, man. He's been to 5-round fights. He's been there. You know, they've both been there. But Cub Swanson's really been there. You know, so I think I'm going to take Cub Swanson here. I know I'm going to take Cub Swanson here. I wouldn't be shocked if third round Darren Elkins does his total damage thing. But my official pick is going to be Cub Swanson. I'm going to go Cub Swanson by decision. I'll take Cub by decision. So that's it. We got to bring Christine in now, right?
Yeah, we're getting it set up. So I know you said that you kind of need to see the weigh-ins for everything, or for you to make your decision. Do you put your, like, because I wanted to bet last week, but I texted you guys that, and then I fell asleep immediately because Saturdays I'll be wiped out. But
yeah,
what are the best plays you have, like, going into before you see anything on the weigh-ins?
What do you mean the best plays?
Like, as far as picks, your parlays, whatever you're going to put together, like, you have in mind what you're going to do. You just want to confirm it at the weigh-in?
Yeah. I have in mind what I'm going to do. I look at the lines. You know, I try to see where value is. And listen, there's some fights that I'll see, and I just know historically that these guys are very good at making weight. They're consummate professionals. I know their camps. You know, I'm pretty in tune with, you know, so, but then there's some guys where you're like, all right, well, like the Cody Garbrandt thing, for instance. I got to see what he looks like. But when you look at, there's certain things that I look at with every fighter is when they step on a scale, you got to look for a variety of things. A lot of people miss. You got to look at their skin tone. You got to look at how eager they are to get off the scale. A lot of these guys, when they get on the scale, look at their comfort zone. I know for me, like, I don't know about you guys out there, but if I get really hungry, my sugar drops. And if my sugar drops, I get very antsy. You know, I move around a lot. I'm looking around a lot. You can't keep my attention. You know, so if these guys had a bad weight cut and these guys just want to get off that scale and just get fluids into them, which they all do, but, you know, at some point in time, you could look at them on the scale, and if they're on there and they're rubbing their hands together or their skin tone's bad, or, you know, you could see it in their eyes and they're not really engaging with media, smiling or shooting a flex, or if they shoot a flex and they're shaking or they're just hopping off that scale and they're chugging, you know they had a bad weight cut, and that's something that you got to keep an eye on. If they're up on that scale and they look fine and maybe they engage in a little bit of a back and forth with the media and they give a flex, and the lady in the back, whoever she is, she's like, you know, one more second, you get back on the scale, and they smile and they joke around, you know their weight cut was not that bad. So there's little things that I look at in the weigh-in that really, really help me out, because I know a lot of you guys, and I don't expect you to understand, and there's a lot of analysts and touts that don't even understand this because they've never done it. You have no idea how hard it is and how mentally challenging it is. Forget about physicality. The mental challenges that are involved in weight cutting. I've been involved in some really brutal weight cuts, like brutal weight cuts, where there's points in time where I was concerned, you know, for the person, you know, so you have no idea what's involved. And, you know, for people to sit there and say, well, you know, they had a bad weight cut, and like, that's easy to say. Like, and I would never call out names, and I would never say, well, you never did a weight cut, or you never did it, or you never were involved in a weight cut, or never wrote a program for a weight cut, or did water cutting or water loading or anything like that. Like, I would never call anyone out for it, but I know for a fact that there's majority, 90% of the people that, you know, talk have never done a weight cut like that, or been involved in one, or actually, you know, timelined one with, you know, whether it's water loading or cutting the water out, or rehydrating is another thing. Like, if you don't time it perfectly, you could actually spill over where it has a rebound effect where you're not going to make weight. So like everything's on timing, everything is assigned. It's so mentally challenging for the team, for the fighter, for the camp, and that's why when they get on scale, sometimes they're like so relieved, they let out a scream, and because it's like an unknown. Like, am I going to spill over? Is my scale calibrated to that scale? It's so much involved, with weight cutting. It really plays a mental head game with you. That's why I always tell people, like, the fight happens before the fight happens. Then the fun starts.
Yeah.
Then the fun starts. The
Gotta
fun
be
is
prep. You can't just show up.
The fun is fighting. That's the fun part.
To work.
The fight is behind the scenes doing the weight cut. So, really definitely pay mind to that. We have her ready to go?
No.
No? Is she coming on? Did you get a hold of her?
I told her to hop on. We're waiting. There she is.
Okay.
All right.
So now what we do is we bring on every week. Obviously, a lot of you guys know we've got a lot of people following her and enjoy her content. Which, what's not to enjoy? She will come on. Her name is Showdown Christine, and she comes on. She gives you her dog play of the week. Now, the way we do this, the way we structure this is, Christine's been a member of mine, for a while, I really go into the Discord and she puts a lot of work in. Like, she really, really does. She does it for basketball, does it for MMA, football. But with her MMA, like, she really, really, really dives in deep, and it's nice. All my subscribers do. And actually, the cool thing that we're doing after the new year is that our subscribers, anybody who hits a big tournament starting the first of the year, we're going to bring them on the show to talk about it.
I like it.
Yeah, so it'll be fun. So all my subscribers are going to be able to jump on, have the opportunity to jump on, talk their strategies and stuff like that. But she breaks it down well. She does it a little bit more from a number standpoint, where I do it more from a film standpoint. And she never tells me what she's picking. Some weeks she does. She'll run it by me, but I have no idea what she's doing this week. So I'm interested in hearing, because there's a couple dogs on the card that I like, and a couple of them that I'm sure she may like that I don't like. So let's bring her in. Christine.
Hi.
What up?
How are you?
Good. What's going on?
Oh, man. I literally dropped my entire setup like 3 minutes ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was stressed out over here. I was trying to text. I said, hop on, and she like disappeared.
Oh, that's why.
That's why. I have like an office chair, and it's like raised really high, and I went to sit on the chair, and I like wiped everything out. But we're good.
All right. So we just went through the main card. I don't know if you heard it. However, rebound time for Showdown Christine, for CJ Monet.
Okay, I want to be clear for this one in particular.
Well, hold on. Wait, we can't. We're jumping before the horse here.
I've been waiting almost a week to say this.
we have me and Christine own a deli, right? So we don't really legitimately own a deli. We have a virtual deli where anytime the dog of the week loses, we have to give them a position in the deli. Our deli is becoming a pretty successful deli at this point. However, we have to give the job every week. If they lose, we got to give them a job. So who was the dog last week?
Last week it was you always put me on the spot.
Well, it's your dog.
Last week. Well, yeah, it was
let me check. Hold on.
I'm so sorry. He lost by decision, and it was oh my God! It always escapes the minute you ask me.
Hold on. There you go. It was it Ponzinibbio?
No.
Was it?
Oh my God, Ige, Dan Ige.
Dan Ige. Okay, so Dan Ige.
50K.
Ah,
Ige.
man, I don't want to give him a job in the deli.
Do
we give him another chance? Actually, you know what?
Sal Diamato gets the job.
Listen, we give him another chance. That was a split decision. We give him another chance. Nobody's working in a deli this week.
Yeah, it was a split. I mean,
Yeah.
We saw the judges' cards. It was literally by 1 point. It was close.
Yeah, no, yeah. All right, Dan Ige, there's no deli. No one's working in the deli this week. It's got to be like they got to get embarrassed.
Yeah, and you know what? Compared to all the people that got just knocked out and got used no points, it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. That was fine. All right, so now rebound week. What do we got?
All right. My dog pick of the week is Melissa Gatto. What do you think of that?
Go ahead.
Oh, that hurts.
No,
Okay.
no. Go ahead.
Okay. Gatto is from Brazil. She's 25 years old. She's 5'5" with a 69-inch reach. She's currently, the last I checked, she was at plus 140 underdog. Eubanks is from Massachusetts. She's 36 years old, 5'4" with a 67-inch reach. And she's currently at a plus 180 favorite. I think that has changed as of today. But she's still the favorite, which I actually don't agree with that whatsoever. I think it's kind of weird, but I mean, I do see it. It's recency bias, of course. Eubanks is 1-2 in her last 3 with a win via ground and pound against Elise Reed, decision loss against Pansy Kianzad, and a decision loss Kianzad, and a decision loss against Caitlin Vieira. Her overall pro record is at about 500 because she's got a 7-6 record. So, you know, she's got just as many wins as losses. Gatto, on the other hand, is 3-0 in her last 3, most recently in a dominant showing against Victoria Leonardo, where she won by doctor stoppage after actually breaking Leonardo's arm. So pretty savage. Before the most recent fight, she was actually on a 3-year layoff, and she had 2 wins prior to that. A win by Carol Rosa via Kimura. That was another awesome showing by Gatto. She was showcasing her grappling abilities, and she was actually able to get that submission from her back. And prior to that was a draw against Sidi Rocha. A quick look at the numbers. As you know, I like numbers. Eubanks, it has a striking rate of 4.5 strikes per minute. Gatto has a striking rate of 7 strikes per minute. And she also has a better striking defense than Eubanks as well. On the ground, Eubanks definitely feels more comfortable and is landing around 1.9 takedowns per 15 minutes, while Gatto is landing around 1.5. So it's not a big differential there, but you know, Eubanks definitely outperforms there. Now, prior to being in the UFC, Gatto was definitely utilizing her BJJ more. In the fight against Leonardo, she was on the feet more, which is a good sign because it shows that she feels comfortable on the feet or on the mat, and she's an excellent striker. Eubanks is definitely a power striker. She's very strong. She's got a BJJ black belt. She likes to take charge of fights. She's kind of like she's dominant in her own ways as well. Like, she bullies her opponents, but I think it is against opponents that she's comfortable doing that with, which Gatto's physicality is, I would say they're pretty evenly matched up. There's only 1-inch height 1-inch height differential and 2-inch reach differential. So they're around the same physical stature, but I don't think Eubanks will feel comfortable bullying Gatto, and I don't think it's possible, really. She will take her opponents to the mat, and she does feel comfortable there, but there's a couple things that I noticed in Eubanks' game that were red flags to me. One is she will take her opponents down to the ground, but she doesn't do anything when she's in top control. So she kind of just like will stay there on top. She's not very active. She's not really looking for the submission. She's kind of just holding position or, you know, trying to switch positions, which I don't see that working out well here either, because Gatto is very active on the mat. She's actually really skilled from her back, as we discussed earlier in her fight against Rota. Another notable red flag. She's a grappler who has yet to win by submission. She's a very low finish rate. She only has one finish in her career. And another issue I have with Eubanks is her cardio. She's shown a tendency to get gassed out after a while. And, if her path to victory here is through grappling and she's not even successful there, she's just going to keep exerting more energy and she's not going to be getting points because she's not too active on the ground. So she will pretty much be like gassing herself out. Another red flag for Eubanks is her issues with making weight. She has a history of losing when she's missed weight, and she's really inconsistent there. There were reports of her actually suffering from liver damage as a result of a bad weight cut. So, she has issues there, and this is something where I guess if you were going to bet on this, I would wait until the weigh-ins to see, if she's having some sort of weight issue this time as well. The last thing too, she's 11 years older than Gatto. I think Gatto is an up and coming force to be reckoned with, actually, in the division. And she's currently on an undefeated record streak, 7-0-1. And her UFC debut against Leonardo, she definitely showcased what she's capable of, and I think she's going to want to keep that streak going. She has credible jiu-jitsu skills. She's sneaky and slick with her submissions. In her last fight against Leonardo, she showed us in the first round that she's able to keep her opponents on the ground. She was going and switching positions very fluidly. She was very comfortable there. And she was always hunting for the submission. She has an excellent jab. She goes for combinations. She's great in the clinch, and she's shown a significant improvement in her game on the feet as well. This is definitely going to be a close fight. The only real advantage I see for Eubanks is that she is a very strong and powerful woman. She could catch her with something for sure, but I don't see it happening. I think Gatto's very durable, and on the ground, I think Gatto also has the advantage and will keep the fight close and active, even if Eubanks is in top position. And she's shown she can even, catch the sub from her back. I see Gatto keeping it at range on the feet, hitting her with jabs and combos, maybe even catching her with the power shot herself. If Eubanks hasn't worked on her cardio, she'll most likely gas out in the later rounds and be vulnerable to one of the many paths to victory that Gatto can go for, which I think will most likely be a submission if she goes for the submission win. But I do think this is going to, even if her conditioning is improved, I think Gatto will have the upper hand in her volume of strikes and also in her top control time, and ultimately win by decision.
Okay. This is the first time where me and you were like really on the other side.
Oh.
No. Not on the other side as far as this not being a close fight.
Yeah.
This is going to be a close fight. But the way you're talking about Gatto having all these advantages, I'm on the other side with the advantages. Like, I think majority of the advantages are in Eubanks' favor. And here's why. And this is why I don't like numbers. You broke down the number standpoint from Melissa Gatto from one fight.
Right.
That's it. One fight. You took metrics from one fight and you added them into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fights of Eubanks, which includes some losses too. So you got to remember, like, not only wins, but losses, this and that. So the sample size you took from that, you matched up her with, and that's fine. I mean, that's fine. But you're looking at, like, even the strike differential.
It's her in the UFC, yeah. Because
you're looking at her strike differential from at 7 when that's just against Victoria Leonardo. Like, that's it. Like, what happens if she goes in and loses a fight and gets, X and it jumps down to like 3 at that point? So this is where I don't like playing with numbers on a fight like this. When you talk about the grappling, I'm in a more favor of Sijara Eubanks when it comes to the grappling. She's the much more credited grappler. She's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. She's got international gold medals in grappling. That's really what she's super good at. Even though it doesn't show on her resume, that's like one of her very strong suits. Is her grappling. So Melissa Gatto, like I said, she's slippery on the ground. She absolutely is, like you said.
No submission wins.
But she's got 0 submission wins. She's not submitting Sijara Eubanks. Like, if she does, I'd be really impressed. Eubanks has never been submitted. So I'd be super, super impressed if she submits Sijara Eubanks. And I will be on the feet. I think Eubanks is better on the feet. I think she is. I think she's got the more crisper strikes. I think she's going to be the one that can kind of push Gatto back a little bit. They're going to be harder. The problem I have with Eubanks,
I think the volume is going to be lower. So
Sijara doesn't throw a ton of volume. She doesn't. But the problem with her is, whether you want to believe it or not you, the fighter across the cage from you, you have to respect her ground game. If you study her as the person you're fighting, you have to respect her ground game, not even from a grappling perspective, from a positional perspective. When she gets on top of you, like you said, she's very strong. And if she gets in a position where she can ground and pound you, getting your hips loose is going to be a task. You know what I mean? Right. So, you got to really defend two levels at that point. You're right. She is the stronger fighter. You're also right. The weight cut does scare me. This is why I said, you got to watch the weight cuts. It very much scares me. The Jekyll and Hyde effect with her. There's no other person like her in female MMA that's more Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, there's Jekyll and Hyde fighters, but she sometimes comes out and she looks like a killer.
Looks
and
like
then
a zombie.
Sometimes you're like, what the hell is she doing? What is she doing?
Yeah.
So in my honest opinion, I think it's going to be a close fight, but I honestly think Sijara Eubanks wins or loses this fight. That's my honest opinion. I think it's up to her to win or lose this fight. I think Melissa Gatto is a fine prospect. I think she's a good fighter. It does scare me a little bit that she is undefeated, 7-0. That must go. They always say, really, they always say that, the must go. But Sijara Eubanks, she's her own worst enemy in so many spots. I also agree with you on the conditioning. Another thing that scares me. What happens if she starts laying it on Gatto and she thinks she's going to put her away and she doesn't, and then in the third round, Gatto comes back and starts, storming the gates. So I think it's a very close fight, but I just think that this is a fight for Eubanks to either win or lose. And if I'm going by paths to victory, and I'm kind of not ignoring, but I'm kind of pushing the weight cut to the side, saying she'll have a good weight cut as long as she makes weight, unless it's brutal or her conditioning isn't that good, but she's been 3 rounds and she won. If I'm going paths to victory here, if Sijara Eubanks comes out and she fights to her potential, I think she wins the fight. If she comes out and she fights like Hyde, she loses this fight. So I think it's super close. But I got to pick with who I personally think is the better fighter, and I think Eubanks is. So that's my philosophy. But your philosophy could totally come out because it's completely realistic. All the things you pointed out, the red flags for her, are completely realistic. And that's what...
Well, yeah, and Eubanks is like an OG, so...
Yeah, and the age factor, there's a lot involved. You don't know where her mindset is. You don't know, you really don't know. You know what I mean? So, like I said, if you look at her last 2 fights, she lost to Caitlin Vieira, she lost to Penny Kanzat, she came back, she fought Reed. Big deal. She beat Reed. Now she's fighting a girl in Gatto. She tends to win the fights she's supposed to win and lose the fights that she's, wow, this is a great fighter. It's the fight. And this is a fight, honestly, she should win. She should win this fight. But I'm not confident that she does.
Yeah, I think her cardio needs to be on point, and I think that her conditioning needs to be on point. And I also think that I think she has to be less, I think she has to be more alert on the ground. I think she might think that she has it on the ground because Gatto hasn't, outside of what we've seen in the UFC, if people haven't done their research, I think Gatto also has credible grappling skills.
Yeah, no, she does. I'm not saying she doesn't, but if you're going grappler for grappler, Eubanks is the more credited.
Eubanks has, yeah.
You know what I mean? She's a more credited grappler. So, all right, we're going to see how it shapes out. I will talk to you, obviously, later on. I'll call you, at some point during the game. Always great analysis from Showdown Christine. What?
Oh, nothing.
You forgot to put your lineup.
I missed it.
Yeah. What a game to miss. All right.
It is what it is.
I'll talk to you later. Thank you again.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks,
all right,
guys.
Bye. I know. I'm just taking this off. Is that off now?
Yeah.
We're good to go. So, as you can see, we don't agree all the time. You know what I mean? And that's the beautiful thing about this. Is sometimes I'll tell her, let's talk. Let's, because sometimes the cards are. But this is what we like to do, and this is what we do in Discord. That's why if you guys want to come in and join the fun, the madlabmma.com, I always tell you guys, I don't want you to agree with me all the time. I'm not here to tell you guys what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen. I'm here to tell you my thoughts on it, and I'm here to give you a realistic standpoint from my vantage point to tell you this is what I think is going to happen. And it's about education. I want you guys to learn. I want you guys to understand, but I also want you guys to make your own decisions. You know what I mean? So, like I said, just because I told her that I feel like Sijara Eubanks is going to win or lose this fight, she's still going to go off and she's going to do her thing. And she's burned me in the past. Like she's picked dogs that I went against, and boom, the Discord goes nuts. So that's the whole thing with this. There's a perfect quote for fighting: the theater of the unknown. And that's exactly what this is. So this is the way it is. You formulate your own opinion, formulate your own process, and I'm just here trying to help out, and I'm still learning. We're always going to learn. You're a student of life, a student of the game, everything. So I will see you guys Saturday on Twitter. If you don't follow me at the Madlab MMA, and check out our site, themadlabmma.com. Also go to @BetsTV on Twitter. Follow their handle over there. Go to, what's the name of the site, Qwan?
BetsTV.com.
BetsTV.com for all the sports. Check out Qwan's show. Qwan's also jumping on a new show too. He's going to start getting to the DFS thing with us, so that'll be cool because we could talk about that. And that's it. Anything for you?
I got nothing. Let's go. Chiefs Chargers over.
Wait, what's the score?
I don't know. I haven't checked.
All right, we'll check in a minute. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later. That was a long time.